I don't think we talk enough about the heartbreak of building a life that you once wanted, and then once you're there, kind of feeling like it's not enough. So let's talk about it. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Taking Up Space with Jordan. I'm your host, Jordan, and I started this podcast as a way to inspire women to build the blueprint of their own dream lives. And today, I want to talk about becoming someone that you're proud of. And to me, becoming someone I'm proud of has been a constant in my journey, especially when I stopped craving acceptance from others and instead turned that inwards. I used to spend a lot of my time hoping and praying that someone would pick me, love me.
So pick me, choose me, love me.
That if I just got this type of job or married this person or did that thing or this or whatever, that achievement would make me proud of myself. What I have actually discovered, though, is that it's more about alignment. When we feel aligned not only with our goals, but also feel aligned with our values and our dreams, we find that we can feel pride in ourselves every day of the week, even on the bad days. Because when you are in alignment with your goals and your dreams and your values, you feel connected to that version of you that will look back and be proud of what you did today. So if you're ready to become someone that you will one day be proud of, then keep on listening. So what does it actually mean to be proud of yourself? So I want to do a little imagination moment, and I want you to imagine your younger self standing in front of you. I want you to really picture them. This small version of you who only knew hope, wonder, and possibility. The world hadn't really hardened them yet. They were a child. And now I want you to ask yourself, what do you think they would say is cool about your life today? When I picture my younger self, I know she'd be happy to see all the pink and sparkly things in my home. She'd be delighted that I spend most of my time being smothered by my dogs and cat. She'd be relieved to know that there are certain parental figures that are no longer part of our lives. And she would love that I get to spend my days writing and doing what I love. That feeling, that tiny smile you get when you realize your younger self would be proud of you, that's internal pride. That warm glimmer in your chest, that's what it means. Internal pride is the quiet satisfaction of living in alignment with your values and growing into someone that you once hoped you could be. It's achieving those goals, developing skills, and creating a life that feels like yours. It's genuine self-esteem, not arrogance. The opposite is external validation, where pride only exists if someone else is approving of you. That's when happiness depends on applause, accomplishments, and how others are perceiving your worth. So how do you actually know if you're proud of yourself? Well, you feel it. It shows up as peace, as self-trust, as quiet confidence. It's when you don't rush to shrink yourself after saying the wrong thing. It's when someone online calls you fat or unworthy and it doesn't stick to your skin like a parasite. And it's not because you've become numb to it. It's because you trust yourself to know that you are enough to not let their judgment rewrite your identity. And the heartbreaking truth of it all is I don't think enough women are saying it loud enough. I'm proud of who I am and where I am. Because from such a young age, we're trained to be small, agreeable, grateful, and quiet. But eventually, if you cage us long enough, we're going to start tapping on that glass until it shatters. And that's what happened to me. My life broke open, and in the silence that followed, I realized that I had been living a life that didn't feel like mine for so long. I was overperforming, overproving, overgiving, over and over again because I didn't feel proud of who I was. I was chasing worth instead of owning it. And this isn't just my story, though. It's so many women's stories. If you're listening to this today, it's probably part of your own story. And if internal pride is about alignment, peace, and self-trust, then the question becomes, how do we actually build it? And that's where we're headed next. Here is the blueprint to becoming someone that you are proud of. And what I love about this is that there are 4 main actionable pillars to the blueprint. And what's so amazing is that you can apply it to your own life super easily. So, as always, take what you want and leave what you don't, because it's your blueprint. So our first pillar is self-honesty. Honesty is the best policy, and it starts with you being honest with yourself. Where are you really in your life? I want you to ask yourself this question with no shame, just the facts. Are you dealing with a divorce? Are you struggling to pay the bills? Are you going back to school? When you can get clear about where you are right now, what actually happens is you get rid of the fog that may be around you. A lot of the times when we are lying to ourselves, we are doing it as a way to not feel the shame of where we could be. We think we should be further in some way or another, but the reality is that's all coming from someone else's judgments. You don't need to beat yourself up for actions that have taken in the past. We can't change what we have or have not done. We can't go back in time and make different choices. This isn't Hot Tub Time Machine. What we can do, though, is get honest with ourselves so that we can take the next step, which is starting to have tiny acts of self-respect every single day. Incorporating tiny acts of self-respect are these tiny moments that can look like little moments of mindfulness, look like little moments of mindfulness throughout your day. Whew, that was a lot. You can also look like setting boundaries, aligning your priorities, as well as just taking care of yourself and your environment. Maybe your tiny act of self-respect is giving yourself 15 minutes to journal in the morning or in the evening. Maybe it's taking a walk by yourself and breathing in some fresh air and touching some grass after a full day of meetings. It can be anything that gives you the feeling of being valued. Part of your blueprint has to include these little moments to help create that self-confidence. Because when you value yourself, you will naturally present yourself differently in the world. You'll pick up projects at work that align with your career goals. You will pick a partner that treats you fairly and beautifully. And when you value yourself, the world will value you as well. Our third pillar is aligning your actions over aesthetic action. Now, I want you to look at your to-do list that you have right now. How much of it are you doing that actually matters to you? Or does it just make you look productive? We have to align our actions with forward progress. Movement does not always mean you're moving forward. Think of a rocking horse. It's moving, it's swinging back and forth, but it's never actually going anywhere. That's how our lives can feel when we are just going through the motions of what others expect us to do. So what do you want to do today? How do you want to spend your time? When I notice that I'm on the rocking chair or the rocking horse, so to speak, it's when my writing sessions feel like chores rather than fun and creative times. It means I'm just going through the motions of putting out a podcast episode for the week, which is not how I want this to feel because this is part of my dream. My dream should be work, but it shouldn't feel like part of my rut. So we have to reevaluate where we are putting our time and what matters most to us and create alignment one small way each day. I reset my actions by going back into my roots of this podcast to inspire. So each day at the end of my night, I think about what was I inspired by that day. Sometimes it's a romantic moment of watching the trees sway in the breeze or how the rain hits the windows. And sometimes it's in the love I have for dancing badly around my home. Whatever it is, I write it down, and that usually creates a whole writing movement for me to inspire myself to show up here in this space. Our fourth pillar is identity shifting. Our final part of our blueprint is a hard one and probably the hardest one, but we have to start acting like the version of you that you want to become, not the one that you're trying to escape. We all carry versions and stories of ourselves that we don't wish to carry. But that new version of you is not going to be found in escapism. It's going to be found in you actively shifting your identity and putting in the work. You do this by getting real about who you want to become. Do you want to become a woman who owns her business? Do you want to become someone who travels the world? Do you want to become a published author? Whatever it is, I want you to write it down. And then I want you to start acting like that person today. This doesn't mean you need to quit your job tomorrow or book a flight around the world. It means you start making decisions from that identity. The business owner would invest in learning about entrepreneurship. The world traveler would start saving money intentionally. The published author would write every single day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. When you shift your identity, your actions will naturally follow, especially if you're being intentional about it. And when your actions align with who you're becoming, pride becomes inevitable. But the backbone to the blueprint is the secret ingredient to success, and that is self-trust. This is going to sound harsh, but your dream life will never exist if you do not trust yourself. Not trust in luck or timing or other people, but trust that you will show up for your own life. Self-trust is believing that you will follow through on your promises and that even if you fail, you will get back up. It is that voice inside of you that says, we can do this, even when no one else is clapping. Because, yes, community does matter. But when you are building your dream life, it is still you doing the work. You are the one who has to try when no one is watching and believing before there is even proof. That is why self-trust is the quiet foundation of every dream. And here's the best part. It's not built in big, shiny leaps. It's built in micro moments, tiny wins, unseen follow-throughs. Self-trust grows every time you keep a promise to yourself, especially when it is small. I had to start from nothing. I did not trust myself a few years ago, so I built it one choice at a time. Today, I'm going to sign up for a gym membership. Today, I am just going to walk 1 mile. Today, I hit play and started recording a podcast episode. Today, I'm going to show up to therapy or write 3 sentences or let myself try dating again. None of these have been huge, but every time I did what I told myself I would do, I was quietly building evidence that I can rely on me. And my promises that I gave myself, the ones that I followed through on, those are what grew. So if you are trying to develop your own self-trust, start small. Ask yourself, what is one tiny promise that I can keep today? Did you take out the trash when you said you would? Did you send that email? Did you drink a glass of water before you were scrolling? Apply for one job instead of doom spiraling. These count. All of them count. You would not roll your eyes at a friend for keeping a commitment to you, so do not do it to yourself. And the goal is not perfection. It's never perfection. It is connection to that inner voice that wants the best for you. The more you practice listening to it, the louder it's going to become. That voice, that one that believes in you and says, before it, I've got you, that's going to be your biggest cheerleader. And that is the secret ingredient to building a dream life that you are proud of. And I know this can all sound not real and like a lot and maybe a little gimmicky, but all those micro ways that I was talking about, that's how I used to speak to myself. And sometimes I still do. My self-trust, as I mentioned earlier, was low, if it even existed at all. It didn't click that I didn't have any trust or faith in myself until I was asked the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And it was just a generic interview question. And I gave some bullshit answer, but the truth, I didn't really know. Not really. And maybe you've been there too, giving an answer because you feel like you're supposed to know. And even though you don't, deep down. And not because you're lazy or you're lost, but because somewhere along the way, you stopped hearing that inner voice. When I look back at my life, there have always been constant things about me. Big smile, loud laugh, sarcastic jokes. But I hadn't been that version of me in a long time. Maybe you felt that too. Maybe like the real you is still there, but just waiting quietly. And for me, finding her again didn't start with some huge dramatic life change. It actually started with taking the trash out when I said I would. It looked like keeping those tiny promises, making myself dinner instead of skipping meals, showing up in little ways for the girl that was in the mirror. And this is where I want you to pause and honestly ask yourself, what is your version of taking out the trash? What small thing could you do that would make you even feel 1% more like you again? It doesn't have to be journaling or leaving a relationship. It might be washing your face before bed, drinking water when you said you would. I am grateful for my divorce, not for the pain, but because it forced me to wake up. It made me realize that I wanted to be someone again, not someone's wife, not someone's assistant, not someone's good girl, just me. And I hadn't been me in that relationship. There was no space for me. So I had to learn how to create that space on my own. And maybe you're in that place too. Not broken, just unsure where to begin. And I didn't know where to start. I hardly had a community that I trusted. I was lost for a very long time. And until I started doing the small things, like wanting to feel better in my body. So I went on longer walks with my dogs. But then I started to realize that, oh, I liked strength training. Maybe I can sign up for a gym membership. And then I started going regularly. And then I found people I could open up to who weren't being paid to listen to me like my therapist. I started taking better care of my home. I started doing the dishes at night, taking out the trash, folding the laundry on time. And slowly, I noticed that shift. My journaling stopped being only about pain or overwhelm. It started writing things like, today I went to a coffee shop for fun. Today I took the dogs on a hike and it felt like freedom. Today the flowers started blooming and they were so beautiful. That's when I knew self-trust was growing, because that little voice inside of me started reminding me of my dreams, the ones that I had buried, the ones that I used to whisper about as a kid. And my fears and lack of faith in myself, they were still there, but they weren't louder than me anymore. That was only 2 years ago. And now I'm about to celebrate 2 years of podcasting. None of this would have happened if I hadn't started with those small things first, if I hadn't learned to rely on myself, and not just to pay my bills, but to value who I was and who I wanted to be. And I want you to know, I'm so proud of that version of me. And I hope, even if it's just a whisper right now for you, that you can say that about yourself too. Or at least believe that one day you will. And here's the truth that no one wants to hear, but everyone needs to. Your dream life isn't built on Pinterest boards, morning routines, or perfectly structured planners. Those things are tools, not foundations. Vision boards, journals, gym memberships, morning matchas and lattes, all of it means nothing if the person using them doesn't trust themselves. Your dream life is built from identity, from who you believe you are and who you're becoming. It's built when you stop trying to become someone impressive and start becoming someone that you're proud to wake up as. People think the blueprint to their dream life starts with the habits and the routines and the discipline. And yes, those things do matter. But underneath all of it is one simple question. Do you trust yourself enough to follow through on the life you say you want? Because when you do trust yourself, you don't need motivation. You have proof. You don't need validation. You have alignment. You don't crumble when things get quiet. You know how to hold yourself. Your dream life isn't waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to become honest. Honest about what you want, honest about where you are, and honest about the fact that the only way to become her, the version of you who isn't afraid of her own potential, is by building that self-trust one promise at a time. So let's bring it all home. Being proud of yourself has nothing to do with how much you've achieved by a certain age or how your life looks compared to someone else's. It has everything to do with alignment, with living in a way that your younger self and future self would both recognize and be proud of. Today, we talked about what pride actually feels like, peace, self-trust, quiet confidence, and how it's different from external validation. We talked about the small, unglamorous beginnings like taking out the trash, doing the dishes, telling the truth in your journal, and we uncovered the real blueprint to your dream life. Not the routines or the planners, but identity and self-trust. Because pride isn't earned through perfection. It's built in tiny, consistent acts of alignment. So, here's your challenge this week. What is one small promise that you can make and keep to yourself? I don't want you to do a life overhaul. This is not a massive reinvention. Just one little act that your future self will look back on and say, thank you for doing that. That's when things started to shift. And if this episode landed with you, maybe share it with someone else who needs to hear that they don't have to have it all figured out. They just have to start trusting themselves again. And thank you for being here. I'm proud of you already. I hope you have a good rest of your day wherever you are in the world. Kisses. Hey. Before you go, I want to remind you of something super exciting. My Dream Life Vision Journal is officially available on my website today. I created this journal because I was tired of dreaming about my dream life without actually knowing how to build it. This isn't just a notebook full of blank pages. It's guided prompts, vision mapping exercises, and space to actually put your dream into motion. Whether you're trying to get clear on what you want, build new habits, or reconnect with the version of you that believes anything is possible, this journal is your roadmap. Inside, you'll find sections to visualize your dream life, break it down into aligned goals, track your progress, and remind yourself to dream bigger, even on the days where you just want to say, this sucks. So if you're ready to stop keeping your dreams in your head and start putting them on paper, go ahead and grab your copy. They are completely virtual, but you are able to print them out if you want to at www.takingupspacewithjordan.com. The link is in the show notes. Go ahead, invest in your vision, and your dream life starts with one page at a time.